Hi everybody, Kat here. Welcome to the channel. It is Thursday morning and the theme of the day is you might just be a globalist. And why am I talking about that? Well, because we have to. It's time. We really have to face some truths about King Charles and the British royal family as a whole. I live in Canada. We are one of the 56 countries that make up the Commonwealth, and we are one of 15 countries where King Charles is indeed our head of state. So it's kind of important to understand who he is, what his role is, what perhaps his intentions are, these kind of issues, right? And what is a globalist? Well, we know he is a member of the World Economic Forum. These globalists, they're technocrats, they're unelected officials that have really designated themselves as arbiters and managers of everything. Political, economic, ecological. What's everybody gonna eat? How do we manage excuse me, the population, and they want to control every aspect of your life. And you can say, oh man, conspiracy theory. Well, no, the thing is, we're gonna be running out of conspiracy theories by 2030 because they're all coming true. Agenda 2030, net zero, climate change, all these, you've heard of all of it. Every bloody one of you that's listening to this has a government that are promoting these things. Ever stopped and thought about why is it that such diverse countries, you could switch the news channels and their politicians are all saying the same thing, all promoting the same thing, all working towards the same goal? That could be almost anything, and certainly nothing that the people of that country are even remotely interested in, yet the agenda is pushed. And that's how we find ourselves in this sort of woke, DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion society, which isn't inclusive or diverse. If you're a person that doesn't believe in their values, you're kicked out. They don't want you. That's not real inclusive. The whole thing's a sham. This whole global agenda and where they're leading us is a sham. And you could talk for days. I could go from one to another. You want to know what's going on? Well, do your research. But here you go. I'm going to talk about one example, one program that the king is involved with, and we're going to sort it out. And what I'm talking about is King Charles and the wind farms. Well, you can say, well, King Charles, he's been a conservationalist talking to plants and organic farming, and he's got a car that runs on cheese, and what more can you... He turns his own lights out. What more can you ask? Of course he's going to support wind farms. Off the shoreline of Great Britain, of the UK. Offshore wind farms. Covering the seascape. Charles thinks Ed Miliband is, he's in complete support of Ed Miliband, the Secretary of State for Energy and Climate Change, Net Zero program of the United Kingdom. Look this guy up. Ed Miliband. He is a dingbat of the highest order. Between Ed Miliband, King Charles, and the government of Great Britain, they have cooked up a scheme, and they've called it GB Energy. You are learning in real time how a shell company is created to protect the wealth of the king. We saw it in the Paradise Papers. We've seen it in other investigations where members of the royal family were caught, diverting money that could have gone to taxes, perhaps. Yeah, but just saying. Research that. So GB Energy. GB Energy is not an energy company. Here's the deal. King Charles owns the seabed all around Great Britain. It's already happening now. There are offshore wind farms and some onshore ones that the king is already... Because these are public projects, they are funded by taxpayer money, not the king. Yet because these are on his land, so what he does is he'll lease the land to the government for this public project. And he'll lease it to them at, a good rate, right? Because he's a benevolent king. Up to now, what the deal has been is the king gets a kickback of 25% of the profits of any of these public programs. So the king is benefiting greatly with this new GB Energy and the push for the even more offshore wind farms everywhere. So the king in his benevolence has said, well, you know what, I'm giving back to my people this time around, even though I'm eligible to take 25%, I'm gonna take less than that and give that money back to my subjects. Yeah, but there's so much wrong with that. First break it down. And I've talked about this before. So how much less than 25% are we talking? 24%? Or 2%? It makes a difference, and it makes a difference in people's minds as well. So we don't know. And also there's a big misconception that this money that Charles would give back, it doesn't go to the people. There's no pool fund with everybody's names in it and they just cut everybody in the country a check. No, that extra money would go to the Treasury. And it's the Treasury that would determine where, when, and how, and even if any of that money would be distributed in any way at all. There's no way of knowing, and there's certainly, it's a falsehood, at least a misstatement to say that Charles taking less than 25% will result in the public receiving a benefit from this incredible thing we call wind power. Now, here's the thing. So what's the motive? Well, he's an ecologist and he believes in it, and Ed Miliband, the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. Look at that clip on YouTube. You'll be astounded. It's all good. But any of these green energy things, these windmills, first of all, the amount of fossil fuels and regular energy, gas and oil and electricity, and to build the friggin' things and install them, and the upkeep of them, it is not a green practice whatsoever. As with every green initiative, it's a hoax. It's a hoax, folks. The more you learn, the more you'll understand. Just start Googling whatever, the green agenda. You got to learn about this. You got to understand. This is not sustainable. It doesn't work. You get nowhere near the power you need at all to make the cost of running the friggin' thing even worthwhile. It's a hoax. It's a hoax played on the public, just like the rest of Agenda 2030 and the green and 15-minute cities and everybody needs an electric car. I mean, it's all a hoax. And you got to understand this. Charles knows it's a hoax. He's got enough advisors around him to understand what's really going on. But it doesn't matter to him. He's benefiting even as his own subjects are suffering, but that's okay. Because that's the globalist mindset. They know better than we do. We are the lowlifes. They don't need us. They've called us useless eaters. That's another phrase to look up, and you'll see who said it and when. And King Charles, member of the World Economic Forum, he is knee-deep, understands, and approves of the agenda to narrow society into a feudal state. But when you look at the royal family, if you look at royalty in Britain from 1,000 years ago, what were they? They were the heads of a feudal state. Nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. The mindset of the monarchy is built on the feudal state. That's how they see themselves. This is also how the global elites see themselves. And this is what's happening. The offshore wind farms are but one example of the hoax the green agenda is playing on you, and your government is playing on you, and your king is playing on you. But it gives you an insight of how everything else works. And King Charles he approves of the message. He approves of the restrictions, laws, and ordinances in place to promote this global agenda. You just really have to come to grips with where you are and who you are and what's going on in the wider world. Once you understand that, you'll be able to understand what's really going on. And you know, here we go, living in a time like this. Yeah, we have to understand what's going on. So there you go. King Charles, yeah, betcha he's a globalist. Have a great day, everybody. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment, share this video, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.